Hello there, and welcome to the final Kirk Minihane Show wrap-up of 2020. Today
Oh
is
yeah, final one for
December-
2 weeks. I guess you're right.
That's right. Today is December 22nd, 2020, and we'll be covering a little bit of yesterday's show as well, but the Carrabis Christmas Special Part 2 for the most part. I am joined by R.A. Minihane. Thank you, R.A., for joining me on this.
Yeah, it seems like you got a
Tuesday.
pretty short. It seems like you got a pretty short bench since I've been on this a couple times now. But
yeah, no, I like to keep it people that
That's
I have
fine.
good chemistry with, so it's not
that's
it's
fine.
not me going
I do like the counter though.
Yeah, no, I love that guy.
You've averaged like 40 or 50 of them a show. So
I've averaged more than that. It depends on how long the shows go, but I think the worst was my show with Kirk. I think I was up to like 80 or something.
Yeah, you were like 84 or something like that. It was pretty bad.
That was
pretty terrible.
That was a lot. So let's get started. So obviously they filmed this last night. This was the second part of the Carrabis Christmas Special, or the last show of 2020, whatever you want to call it. And it was interesting in the fact of like, I don't know, like they're getting ready for this trivia thing that takes place in a couple weeks. Apparently it was supposed to film today, but apparently it's getting pushed back another 2 weeks. I think Kirk said. So they had me call in, and at first I thought it was answering trivia because Steve texted me and said, "Hey, we're going to call you and you're going to answer some trivia for us." And I was like, "Okay, fuck." And so
that actually would have been kind of amusing because I can't imagine you would have done well.
So he sends me the list. So I was like, shit, I just looked at all the answers. Was I supposed to look at any of these answers? And then he's like, no, you'll be asking us the trivia questions. So I think Kirk is in a good position with trivia. I think Steve really dropped.
I was surprised by Steve's lack of knowledge of U.S. history.
That was
U.S. I think that was the big takeaway. He didn't seem to know a whole lot. Like he knew the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy one, which I wasn't surprised. He's like into sci-fi, but there's just the American history stuff. It just I was surprised he wasn't even close with the president's one, and I was surprised that he didn't get the Granada one.
Yeah, the Granada one was really,
especially because it's Reagan.
Dude, it's Reagan. Like he told me, like he says like Reagan was his favorite president. And he knows all these things, and he didn't know. What did he say? The Dominican Republic.
Yeah, he was like, the U.S. invaded the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, okay. That's something that happened in 1983. So,
but he did say, "Would you be surprised if the U.S. had invaded the Dominican Republic?" Which is a pretty good point. Like we've encountered a bunch of other just like crazy wars. You can listen to the history buffs for that, but I'll keep it off these airwaves.
Yeah, but I just thought it was like, Steve, you gotta know. I mean, in crunch time, like Steve's the guy. If there's a history question or especially a political question, they're going to look to Steve, and they're going to.
It should be Steve. Yeah, he should be the closer. But Kirk's going to have to really care. I don't even know what the hell Carrabis is going to do. Like if they're asking a baseball question, he's fucking useless.
I mean, even when I asked him a baseball question, I asked him about who the 1995 Asian Rookie of the Year was, and he was convinced it wasn't
Hideo Nomo.
Yeah, Hideo Nomo. Kirk was like, I'm pretty sure that's it. So
yeah, but Kirk has all the sports stuff down. So it's just like, what is he gonna add?
Yeah, it's
I guess like really deep dives into wrestling. If they ask him wrestling that Kirk may not know, I have no idea.
I'm not entirely sure. I think the three of them will be entertaining, but I think it's going to be carried solely by one person.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, because I'm not entirely sure. Like, I haven't watched. Have you watched an episode of I think it's called 12 Questions or 24 Questions?
I have not.
I have not either. So I'm not entirely sure if the questions I was asking last night are like relative to the fact, or like relative to the questions that they would be asking. But I assume it would be kind of the same thing as on Drinking Buddies. You know, somewhat of the same trivia questions. And yeah, Carrabis and Steve both really dropped the ball on that, and I think. But
I didn't expect anything more from Carrabis.
Yes,
I feel like his ceiling is very, very, very low as far as trivia is concerned. Whereas Steve, I feel like a lot of people expected more out of Steve.
I think the worst thing Steve did yesterday too is when I asked the Seinfeld question, and he just came out and said it's Junior Mints. I know it's Junior Mints, and Kirk just trusted him and said, Yeah, sure. We'll just go with Junior Mints, and it ended up being Pez. And Kirk was like, "Fuck! If I just thought that
Yeah,
through."
that was definitely a turning point in the relationship as far as trivia is concerned.
Yeah. So I don't know. Apparently, it's supposed to be filming in a couple weeks. We'll see how it goes. If they play the Chicago guys, I think that'll be very entertaining. I like Eddie from what I see on the Dave Portnoy show, from what I've seen from him on here. I really wouldn't call him Carrabis' rival. I think if you're going to call someone Carrabis' rival, like Jeff D. Lowe did today, I mean, you got to think of Hubs. I don't know if you're too entwined with the.
I do not. I'm not that entrenched in this. As far as the Barstool universe is concerned, I have no idea who Hubs is.
Well, Hubs is like the Yankees guy. If there's a whole.
Oh, I got you. Yes, a little rivalry guy. I got you.
Yeah. So if I were to consider someone Carrabis' rival, I think I would very much go with Hubs. But let's touch on yesterday's show a little bit with the whole Curt Schilling, Big Cat, kid hating thing. What was your I was surprised Curt Schilling picked up that Steve just called him and he was able to pick up so easily. And,
yeah, it was odd because he sounded like he was just like it was like he was expecting just like a normal conversation with Steve, almost like they talk every now and then.
Yes,
Like he didn't seem surprised that Steve Robinson was calling him.
No,
he was just hey, Steve. So it was odd that way.
It feels like they've talked off the record before about just politics. Like, I don't know, maybe Steve calls him up or they call each other up on like election night and they're like, can you believe that, Donald Trump.
I wouldn't be surprised, but it did seem way too casual. Like it wasn't just like a out of the blue Curt Schilling call.
Because I mean, Steve said he's worked with Curt before when he was on Howie Carr's show, but I mean,
we're coming up on 2 years. 2 years. Just a year and a half ago.
So I mean,
it just seemed way too casual for a one and done spot on Howie Carr 2 years ago, let's say.
And I think Curt had a kind of a funny reason as to why he blocked Carrabis. He's just like, I don't know what it was, but it was definitely a blockable offense.
Yeah, he's like, I don't block people for no reason. I just don't remember the reason.
And then he was going through the reasons, and he said it has something to do with his kid being shit talked or something like that. And then Barstool being anti-Trump. And I could definitely see maybe this was all going down when the whole bail fund thing was going down, and there was all this money being raised and this videos being posted of like people firebombing police stations. I could see that kind of maybe getting under Curt's skin.
Yeah, but also like they said on the show, I mean, Portnoy interviewed Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So like how anti? I mean, obviously like the underlings and like the day-to-day people are clearly left leaning, but as far as Barth, like the top guy is, he's on Fox News all the time. He's on Tucker Carlson. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think Dave Portnoy will just say he likes money, so that's kind of why he
good point.
Kind of why people think he votes a certain way. He's just like, I'm a big money guy. I'll vote for the person who lowers my taxes, who most of the time that will end up being Republican.
It was kind of fun to see Kirk just try to bait him with calling him like a snowflake and just it reminded me of like the EEI days when he'd have someone on and he'd just, like almost like the Lenny Dykstra interview on his Enough About Beak podcast, where all of a sudden he just like started nudging him and nudging him and nudging him. And Curt even said, he was like, I'm not taking the bait. He's like, who do you think you're dealing with? He's like, oh, I know. He's like, I wouldn't try to bait a snowflake like you. Like, oh, you're right. Like, just like stuff like that. I love. So you got to see a little bit of classic Kirk. And then, but Schilling, I heard that his wife she has like the cancer reemerged or something like that. And I feel for the guy. That's a terrible situation. I don't know if that impacts how he is. Like, I feel like he would have been like that even if his wife hadn't gone had cancer again.
I could never. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know how that can affect someone.
Oh, me neither. But I'm saying in other interviews I've heard of his, he's the same exact way.
Yes. So maybe I think it was interesting that Carrabis brought it up, and then Big Cat said all of this stuff kind of came to a fruition on Saturday.
When he napped like a bitch, according to you.
What'd you say?
I said that he napped like a bitch, according to you. He took a 20-minute nap or something like that?
Please, Jesus, you got to pump those numbers up.
Step it up.
Disgusting. I mean, you got to take a 22-hour nap maybe on a Saturday too. God, Saturdays don't even. I wake up for Justin and the Minifans, go back to sleep after Justin and the Minifans. That's my Saturday. But it's interesting in just the fact that I don't even know how it got brought up. I think they were just talking about Curt Schilling, and then Carrabis is like, yeah. I mean, you could tell he was kind of hurt by it. He's like, hey, listen, I try to pride myself on being non-political and not like big cat non-political, where he's like, I don't like, Carrabis just doesn't know anything about politics.
He didn't know who the vice president was.
He didn't know who the vice. I guarantee you, he probably doesn't know who the vice president elect is.
Probably not.
He says he voted and made an I. He posted an I voted sticker on Twitter to catch the eye of Andrea Russell.
I know, right?
So I don't think this guy is too big into the political game. So to somehow
he's not.
That he's one for calling out people and doing shit with the anti-Trump sentiment or whatever Curt thinks was going on is I don't know. I think it's funny just to see that. But I also
think that he's this political genius who's trying to undermine the Trump presidency.
But I did think it was very funny that Curt was like, yeah, I'll give it a hard think. Like, I'll think about it for a while. He wasn't just like, he was just like, oh yeah, of course.
Like, yeah, I mean, he to his credit, I mean, he's stubborn as hell. Like he sticks to his points, and he's just like, I don't give a fuck. Like he's just like, he obviously did something. I don't remember what it was, but I don't give a shit.
He was like, yeah,
Jared was like, I was invited to that man's 50th birthday party. Like,
I'm sure there was quite a few people invited to his 50th birthday party.
I'm sure there were, but I'm sure not all of them were the Jared Carrabises of the world.
I agree.
I'm sure it was like Howie Carr. I'm sure was at that.
Oh yeah,
at that birthday party. Steve Robinson was probably at that birthday party.
Yeah, he was probably giving the stand up there at his birthday party. But yeah, so. Also, in more so today's episode, they kind of hinted more at that they'll be going to New York sometime in the next up and coming weeks. I'm going to assume sometime in January, upstate New York, for the secret podcast. And Jared said he would tag along, which is very interesting for me. Could you see Jared coming with Stephen Kirk?
What would he do?
I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, he can tag. I think he has accepted the world. I think he is embracing the world, and I think he likes what he sees. Even though we couldn't push him over the edge for that poll that he lost to Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, just admit it, dude. Just admit that you want.
He was restraining himself, being like, "Oh, I don't care." It's just
it's very it's very like sore loser-ish to see that.
It's not even sore loser-ish because he was trying to brush it off like it was nothing. Maybe it is sore loser-ish. I don't know, but he was definitely downplaying it. Like, this doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, and when he started talking about what the fuck is it? About how like there's no prize given and we all won.
It's just like
exposure. It's like, dude, you would have changed your Twitter bio. You would have changed your Twitter bio if you won.
Oh, absolutely. And if it's just sarcastic, but you do like. And also, I thought I saw him tweet out that he has a bet with Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, he had during early quarantine. I know he did like that rock, paper, scissors, shoot challenge where he would play baseball players and rock, paper, scissors, shoot on StreamYard or on the other fucking streaming service, and they would do like best of 7, and they would make a bet beforehand, like, oh, if I lose, I have to name my first kid after you. I have to get a tattoo. Like some of them were really crazy. I know, like I believe he has to name his first kid after a pitcher. He has to get a tattoo of like. There's a whole list of like just because I think he went on like some ridiculous losing streak where he lost like 21 times in a row.
Wow.
And now he just has to do like all this shit. I mean, I think that'd be something fun to ask him next time he's in. But to your point about Jared accepting the world, I don't think you can accept the world better than how Jared has accepted the Kirk.
Yeah, because the more I think about it, it's not so much that he accepts the world, it's that the world accepts him.
Mm-hmm.
When it really comes down to it, because like the Minifans can make your lives kind of miserable. So as long as you play along, we're pretty much a happy-go-lucky group.
Yes,
but yeah, he's just like I didn't like him at first. I've said that a lot, famously, and but he's just he's just a thing of Play-Doh. You can do whatever you want with him, but he's just so empty-headed. But he's just embraced us, which is good for him. But I don't know what he would do on that secret project.
I don't know.
Like, would he hold a camera? Like I hold the sound? Like
I'm not.
What else would he do? Unless he's going to he's got some obscure like MLB player that he knows up in
What do you know
like that?
What do you know about
Exactly? Like, I don't know what he would do. Like, I feel like he'd be bored.
I think if he came down for a day, it would be fun to kind of be like, Jared's here, and he would do the show. But then I think after that, he would kind of get to the point where
because if they're there for an entire week, like
especially if he's doing this other secret if he's working on
his own secret project,
which everyone seems to have a secret project nowadays, I'm not entirely sure how that would work. But no, I think Jared really has embraced the world. I believe it was yesterday's show, when Kirk started talking about baseball in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and Jared goes, I don't really want to talk about baseball. And Kirk's like, why? He's like, your fans don't like it when I talk about baseball. And I think there has been a couple of times when he was first coming on where people would say, oh, great, you're going to have Jared Carrabis on, or we're going to hear David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez.
I was one of those people. Yeah,
and
I thought the exact same thing.
And so I think that kind of not necessarily got to his head, but I think the conversations that they have regarding baseball between him and Kirk can be wildly entertaining, especially yesterday when they were trying to get Steve to guess who.
Oh yeah, the Seattle Mariners.
what team Ken Griffey Jr. is on. And I don't pretend to be.
Jared was like, the problem is, if I were to give you a hint, it would be the team that drafted Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, exactly. And so he kept going, and I was like, I didn't think Steve. I'm willing to bet that Steve did not know the Seattle Mariners are a team.
I don't know. I mean, as soon as they said Northwest, there's only one team in the Northwest. That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that Steve knows about the Seattle Mariners, and
I don't know. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's fun though, because when they talk baseball, it's almost like they're mocking it.
Yeah.
The little deep dives in like the Hall of Fame, and it's light. It's not like serious, and they do kind of poke fun at it.
And they're also talking about a grander view of baseball when it comes to like Hall of Fame inductions. They're not talking about this past week in baseball, where the Red Sox went 5-2 and they're looking
exactly.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's more of like a grander scheme. Like Kirk says, he loves baseball. He wants to retire in Cooperstown and be a tour guide. He
wants to be a tour guide of baseball. Hall of Fame.
I would love to see a tour by Curt Minihane when they would get to like the 2004, 2007 Red Sox, and he just goes, yeah, and then this happened, and so the White Sox won the next year.
Yeah,
I think that would be very, very interesting, but. Before we kind of wrap up with these shows, it was kind of mentioned on today's show that Jared had a live stream. I believe it was Wrestlemania last year. And it was he called it pathetic. It was just him. And I've been thinking, would you want to see Harry Minihane and Jared Carrabis live stream a pay-per-view wrestling event?
Yeah, Harry was on once when he was he came into the studio once and fielded phone calls and then talked about hot chocolate and a hot chocolate incident. But he was entertaining. I mean, he had he had the back and forth of Kirk. He was asking he was interrogating him. He was like, but did you spill the chocolate milk or whatever it was?
I think Kirk said something like oh Harry was upset at the basketball game, and he's like, that's right, Dad, but I didn't spill my chocolate at the local place, did I? And Kirk's yes, I did it.
Yeah, and he's just needling him. So I'd listen to it. I don't know if I'd really want to watch it, but I'd definitely listen to it. I mean, I guess the pay-per-view watch,
or perhaps maybe a 30-minute recap or something of WrestleMania of just Harry.
Oh, I'd listen to a recap, absolutely.
Yeah, because I don't know if a 4-hour. I don't know how many.
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, and you'd have to have Kirk facilitate it.
Yeah,
I don't think he wants Harry and just Carrabis just hanging out.
I mean, Kirk would obviously be involved in it too, but I think having Harry along for the ride would really make it interesting.
That's not a bad idea.
I think that some sort of recap or something. Yeah, no, Jared would just come pick up Harry, do a
podcast. Yeah, just stroll off and just watch pay-per-view at his his crime-ridden apartment.
Harry just I'm going over Jared's house to watch.
Yeah, that'd be just a little weird.
Watch Wrestling Dad. I'll see you later.
Yeah, that'd be.
And it's but anyway,
that'd be weird.
So I don't know. I think that might be something funny that they could possibly do in the future. Maybe a 30-minute recap. I know Barstool really doesn't have any prevalent or successful wrestling podcasts out there currently, so maybe they could do something of that sort.
Didn't Brandon Walker have one?
Yeah, like I said, they don't really have any successful
or
relevant
here we go.
wrestling podcasts out there. So
number one at one point, wrestling, I think is what it's called. I'm sure that's really caught fire.
The Curt Minihane wrap-up show, I think, was peaked at number 33 at one point on the charts. So
that's a good point, Justin.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes on exactly what rankings mean.
Yeah, let's take it easy.
So as this is the last show of the year, the last wrap-up show of the year, I wanted to get some predictions because I have some hot predictions for 2021.
Let's see your takes first.
Where we will be in a year. So here are just a couple of mine. One, I'm going to kind of go person by person. One, I believe the Curt Minihane show will stay at 3 days a week for the entirety of 2021. I believe that the episodes will be longer than we'll still get the same amount of content, but I think the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing will be very prevalent. I think they'll find an increase in downloads, more people will be able, will feel like they're not pressured to listen every day, or there's not going to be I missed Tuesday's show, so people will be able to catch up. So I feel like the 3 day a week thing is going to be very successful, and it gives them time to work on other projects, whether it be true crime podcasts or any other thing that Kirk might think of in the next year. I think the relationship with Barstool is going to only get better as the year goes on and the secret project comes to be. I know Kirk has, this is also me speaking out of my ass, so please no one think I have any sort of inside information regarding anything. I am completely ignorant. I'm a dumbass. I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is just all opinionated from what I hear on the show. I believe that the secret project will be hugely successful. They'll come to terms with a new deal, a new 2, maybe possibly 3-year deal. Kirk will be under contract. I believe that Matthew Carrano will be in once a week to produce one episode of the Curt Minihane show. And Steve will take on more of the executive producer role, where he takes not necessarily the day off, but Carrano will come in to produce the show. They will get, I think it'd be interesting to kind of see, maybe one day they'll have Carrano in with Carrabis or Carrano in with Mike, just to kind of throw things up. I do think Carrano's role expands in 2021. Not necessarily to something full-time, but I do believe that his role will be, whether people like it or not, will only grow bigger. Because, Carrano is a very polarizing person, and Kirk loves polarizing people. So I can only see his role growing. My last, Steve, like I said, Steve will kind of move on to be the executive producer. He'll still
a lot of predictions.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Got a ton of them.
And my last prediction is, I don't think things with Mike are going to end great. I think that there's going to be some sort of fight during 2021 between Kirk and Mike, and I could see it not ending well. I could see Kirk calling me up at some point and being like, it's either Mike or it's the show, and I think we all know what I would choose there. Probably the show. Let's be honest. I think things with Mike are going to get off to a very, very hot start. And I think that it won't necessarily be Kirk's fault or Mike's fault. I just think they'll both want to go in separate directions. And that will be it. It will kind of be, Mike's going to be kind of like Cullinan was these past couple months. Like do you understand?
Playing the hits in the morning? Yeah.
Yeah, he'll kind of have his own thing going. Where Kirk will be like,
he had the Patreon going,
Yeah,
an executive gearhead for like $10 or something like that.
That's right. So those are my predictions. Which
that's a lot of predictions.
Yes,
that was like 5 or 6 of them. So that's pretty thorough. I think the exact opposite of Mike as far as how they're going to split ways. I think we can agree that I think he's just going to whimper off. Not so much whimper off, but I feel like he's just going to fade away slowly.
Oh, really?
I don't think he is. I don't think he has enough in him to challenge Kirk and be like, what the hell? Like you're saying, like a blow up. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it would be some kind of passive aggressive thing where they just kind of slowly fade away.
No, I think
very, very anticlimactic.
No, see, I think because I don't think Kirk.
You know him better than I do, obviously, but
I haven't talked to Mike in forever.
Did you just help him with the audio stuff like 2 weeks ago?
I helped him with setting up his Patreon stuff. I want to make this very clear. I have nothing to do with the audio of any of his podcasts. Just want to get that out there. I really hope Mike is super successful, but my prediction for 2021 will be that he will be on his own by the end of the year, doing his own. I think he'll be successful on his own, but I just don't think he will have that much of a connection to do with the Curt Minihane show.
Yeah, neither. I agree with that. I can see Steve being an executive producer, I suppose, and maybe even you and Carrano switching off. Maybe you'll learn is that wine?
No, it's Mountain Dew.
Oh, okay. I bet.
In a wine glass.
Yeah. Well, that, when you see the
relax and unwind, but it's Mountain Dew.
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, so with Mike, Steve, he could be an executive producer, I guess. Maybe you learn the switchboard a little bit. Maybe you can push buttons back there with Carrano. I can see Carrabis leaving CCK and doing the Curt Minihane show in his place, almost as like a third person, but not, at least not during the baseball season. Although if it's 3 days a week, he should be able to do it during the baseball season, even if he does it remotely, because it's not like he preps anyways.
You think Carrabis would be in 3 days a week?
Yeah, even if it's remotely. Like I said, it's not like I do agree that it's going to be 3 days a week. And I think that you're going to see less and less of an emphasis on this show and more of an emphasis on the true crime podcast.
I disagree. I think the Curt Minihane show will always be Kirk's baby.
And I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying that there'll be more emphasis because you've seen it now. If they were to do a season 2, I mean, they've been talking about this for how long? Couple months now?
Couple months.
And they're saying that an episode won't be out until like February.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even like a teaser in February, because it takes a while to, do all this. So if they're doing this constantly, it could be a year-round thing. If they've got another season of it, if it gets the downloads, if Barstool loves it, if everyone loves it, they're going to want more. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, you did your one. You did your one incredibly successful, 7-part series. Like, we're just going to let you do whatever you want now. I don't think that's how it's going to work. I think Portnoy is going to say, hey, Portnoy and Erica will say, hey, like, you should keep doing this. So I feel like it's going to turn in, as long as they're at Barstool, I think they will continue just focusing on the true crime stuff primarily.
No,
in 2021 at least.
I think that the true crime and the side projects will always be kind of a side project, even if it takes precedent, certain weeks. Like
really? Because if they get 2 million downloads an episode for this, and Barstool is printing out money, okay, you don't think they're going to be like, hey, you should probably focus on season 2?
I don't think Barstool would ever tell Kirk what he should do.
Okay.
I think Kirk would. I don't think Erica or Dave would ever go up to Kirk and say, you need to stop focusing on the Curt Minihane show and start focusing on the Curt Minihane True Crime podcast. I don't.
Okay, so stop focusing. I guess that's a bad term. It's not that he's not going to focus on it. It's just going to be like it is now, only 3 days a week. How they're kind of accommodating their schedule primarily. Like they'll be in South Carolina, but they'll still film or they'll still record.
I agree.
So that's what I mean by like it's going to take precedent. Like it's going to be first on their mind.
I agree with that to a point, but I think it's also in the early stages of the True Crime podcast coming out. So them talking about it on the show in a way is them promoting it. And I don't think they're going to be doing the promotion for the True Crime podcast year round. I would be surprised if in June in a random day.
I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they're going to have to research it. If this thing is let's just go on the assumption this is wildly successful. Mm-hmm. They're going to want a part 2.
I agree.
That's just how it works. You don't just stop. So if they wanted that, even if they're not teasing it, they will still be out researching it and interviewing crackheads and stuff like that.
Yes, no, I agree with that. But I think that the Curt Minihane show, as if you look at the total year of 2021, I could be completely wrong, but I think that the show will take precedent over any side projects or anything like that.
So, maybe. I'm just thinking at a certain point, it's not going to become just a side project. Like that's the other huge prediction. This thing's going to be huge. This true crime with Barstool's backing, it's going to be massive.
No, I think it's going to be.
And I think that's going to. And who knows? Maybe they'll strain relations with Barstool next year if they're just like, listen, like you're going to have to focus on this, and like you said, maybe Kirk doesn't want to be told what to do.
Maybe it's It's certainly a possibility.
Who knows? This great idea could be the beginning of the end.
Or it could be the beginning of the beginning. Their relationship with Barstool hasn't even started yet. Wait until it's Barstool. Wait until Kirk buys out Barstool.
It's Kirkstool.
It's Kirkstool. That's right. So,
are you going to get on that early? Like, you going to buy some stock in Kirkstool now?
I have a stock guy. He's starting his podcast, and so we'll see what his predictions are on that. But no, I have a stock guy, so don't you worry about it.
All right.
But anything else you want to say, All right, before we wrap this up?
No, that's all. Thank you for having me on. I'm trying to think if there was anything. No.
Awesome.
I got nothing.
So, anyway, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the Curt Minihane network on YouTube. Subscribe to the Curt Minihane Wrap Up Show on
tap the bell.
Your favorite podcast player, and we will talk to you